Alrighty, everyone. My name is Christine Angel. I apologize that my camera is not working tonight. I am the co-president for the Citywide Council for District 75. I am standing in the gap currently tonight for our co-president, Andrea Daniels. She is multitasking, and she is also the chair of this committee for tonight. We are very excited to have Mr. David Abrams from the Office of Travel Training to help us with pre-travel training. And we know that there's a really big level of importance when it comes to our children who are not quite able to be travel trained yet, and the different intricacies that have to do with what comes before travel training. So we have a very great relationship with Mr. Abrams. So we're very happy to have him tonight. What we would like to do before we start is to give our translators the floor. We do have Bangla, Mandarin, and Spanish on tonight available. So at this time, I would like to give the floor to our Spanish interpreters to give your instructions, please.
Buenas noches, tendremos interpretación simultánea para esta reunión. Para accesar, solo tiene que marcar desde su teléfono el 347-966-4114, seguido del número de reunión 991-380-990, seguido de la tecla de número. De nuevo, el teléfono es 347-966-4114, número de reunión 991-380-990, tecla de número, y estaremos colocando la información en el chat si la necesitan de referencia. End of Spanish announcement.
Thank you so very much. Bangla interpreter, you now have the floor to give your instructions.
Thank you so much. The following message will be for Bangla participant. আপনারা যারা এই মিটিংটি আজকে জুমের পাশাপাশি বাংলায় শুনতে চান, সেক্ষেত্রে আপনাদের ফোন থেকে ডায়াল করতে হবে 347-966-4114। আমি আবারও বলছি, ফোন থেকে ডায়াল করতে হবে 347-966-4114 এবং পিন চাইলে দিতে হবে 634-134-191#। আবারও বলছি, পিন চাইলে দিতে হবে 634-134-191#। আপনাদের যদি কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে এখানে লিখতে পারেন, অথবা আমাদের মাধ্যমে প্রশ্নটি করতে পারেন। যদি কোনো প্রশ্ন না থাকে অনুগ্রহ করে মিউট করে রাখবেন। থ্যাংক ইউ। বাংলা announcement is done.
Thank you so much. Mandarin interpretation, you now have the floor to give your instructions.
The following announcement will be in Mandarin. 各位家长晚上好，如果你需要国语的翻译的话，请打电话去347-966-4114，密码是295-304-953，然后按井号，然后在你打进去之后可以按星星，然后按6去静音。再来一次，如果你需要国语的翻译的话，可以打去347-966-4114，然后密码是295-304-953，然后按井号，然后按星星6去静音。谢谢。The Mandarin announcement is done. You can now proceed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abrams, a great friend of the council. We will now hand the floor over to you to proceed with our parent workshop. Thank you again for being here tonight. We completely appreciate you and the information that you do have available. The floor is now yours.
Good evening, everyone. So honored to be here. And again, we are good friends. I think I've known Ms. Daniels for over 4 or 5 years now. She repeatedly has brought her daughter to our Saturday workshops that we conduct periodically with the District 75 students and the Bronx. And we work on strictly pre-travel schools, getting her ready for independent travel. Her daughter is on our wait list, and she's slated to probably start travel training next year. So I applaud Miss Daniels. She's been to the more sessions than anyone else who's ever, once we started the Saturday session. So she's totally dedicated to independent travel. Her daughter is totally dedicated to independent travel, and it's going to pay off for them in the long run. So again, definitely appreciated to be and honored to come tonight and talk about travel training, the program, how it works, and the things that you, the parents, could and should be doing to get them ready for hopefully independent travel. Again, I will reiterate that independent travel is not for every child, so that depends. But we believe every child can be more independent than they currently are, and that the parents and the teachers in the schools have to break away from the philosophy of keeping their children safe, keeping their students safe, but rather teach them to be safe, keep themselves safe. And it's a concept that that especially when I see the parents who come to our classes, again, the Saturday program is parents and students are learning. And we hear it all the time from the parents, like, I thought I was doing the right thing, but actually I see from the things I was conducting, the way I was conducting my instruction with my child was actually hurting them or holding them back. So hopefully today it'll be a little eye opening for you and just make you think about the things you could and should be doing to help foster independence with your children. All right, for hopefully one day independent travel. So again, my name is David Abrahams. I am the director of the District 75 Office of Travel Training, and I'm going to just go through some slides here. I always like, guys can all see my slides, right? And also, Miss Angel, how many people do we have tonight? So I'm curious. I would love it when we get feedback and answer a few questions. I hate just kind of
oh no, trust me, Mr. Abrams, I got you. I have questions if they don't. So we have 42 people. We had about 62, so I'm sure we'll have 62 register. I'm sure that people will trickle in, but I will watch the chat for you to make sure that we get the questions in the spaces that you want. If you want to break it out as you move along, just let me know. We'll follow and move.
Well, yeah, please. I'm going to ask a few questions just to see what see what knowledge you have about the program. Please ask questions. I don't want to just sit here and give a lecture. I love it when there's feedback, and there's never a stupid question. All right, there's always something that you're not sure of. I'm glad to answer. So again, don't be shy and ask questions so that we could achieve the goal we all want for our children.
And while we're here, I want to say a huge thank you, because I noticed that my former council member and the former chair of this former council member Aisha Husbands is here. So we love you, girl, and thank you for how you set us up to succeed. And thank you for helping us to be able to continue with Mr. Abrams and the work that you've done. So thank you for supporting us and your continued support. And Mr. Abrams, I will give it back to you now.
Yeah. Ms. Husband's another advocate for the travel training program, another parent who brought her children out to our Saturday programs, and her daughter, Jasmine, benefited from it. And again, I mean, I can't thank Ms. Husband's enough for what she's done for us and her positive feedback to all who are on the fence about travel training, how important it is and how much her child learned attending our classes and going through our program. All right, so I always start out my little buddy here. His name is Benny. Why I start with him, and I hope you haven't seen it before, but even if you have, it's nice to see it again. I always get choked up. It's just to show you how important independent travel is to your children. All right, if you're a teacher, how important independent travel is to your students. Again, most of our students are put on that school bus, to keep them safe. But a lot of them can learn to travel if we give them the opportunity and we teach them to keep themselves safe, okay? So again, I want you to hear this quick little quip from my buddy Benny about how important travel training is. And again, we hear these sentiments a lot, but it's better when you hear from the students themselves.
And I want to talk about my life, travel training. I've been travel training when I was 17. I've been travel training since October of 2004. And it was time for me not to use the school bus. It was time for me to travel independently from high school to home. And in November, middle of November, I passed the test. My mom was happy, my aunts, a lot of my family members were happy for me to travel independently from high school to home that day, November 2004. My mom cried, I cried, hey, you did, she said I did well, That was the end of me. And I travel independently all the time, every day.
sounds like it was one of the most important things that happened to you.
One of the happiest, the proudest moments since 12 years. I passed the test of travel trained, ready for me to be independent, travel independently.
Wow.
Yes, this is Benny. He was a student from the Bronx. He was completed our program. He just came back to the district one day and had an impromptu conversation, and then it turned into an interview from our media specialists. And he was so proud of himself. And I know that for a fact, Benny is currently working a great job. Not sure which business it is, but he's an independent traveler working, and that is the full purpose of independent travel, for more opportunities for employment and more opportunities for recreation. And if you have a feeling about it, or please jump in and say what you think about my young man here, Benny. But again, just the emotions that he reflected upon is just, I think, a powerful tool for parents to understand how important independent travel is to your children. And just because I have a disability doesn't mean they don't want the same thing as everyone, to be able to go places on their own and to be a contributor to society. As Benny did say, he passed the test because there is a test in travel training. So I'll explain that in a little while. So some quick background about our program. Initiated in 1970, so we've been doing this for over 50 years. In 97, included in IDA regulations on the definition of special education. 1998, part of Rehabilitation Act. 2004, included in IDEA improvement regulations on the definition of special education, and recognized as an essential part of transition planning. So travel training is in the laws, and we are not IEP driven. However, we are based off an assessment. So you should refer your children so we can get a look at them and to see if we feel they're eligible for independent travel. The District 75 model is different from any other travel training programs you might see at agencies or some of the Metropolitan Transit Authority agencies across the country. Our District 75 model, we are short-term, comprehensive, intensive, one-to-one instruction. So we come to your home and travel train your child to and from the school or school worksite location. We focus on the skills and behaviors necessary for traveling safely and independently. We use public transportation where applicable. So even if the student has a walking trip, we're going to introduce them to some form of public transportation based on assessment of students' travel-related skills, abilities, and needs. So again, we are not IEP driven. Independent travel is not something you can throw in an IEP and expect your child to get it and be successful. Basically, you want to just refer your child and let us assess and deem whether they're eligible or not. Every student has an individualized training plan based on their cognition and travel experience. All right. So every student does not get the same instruction or the same order of chronological order of things. It depends on what they need. And travel trainers are specially trained personnel, and that's what we do for a full-time job. We don't work in the classrooms. We strictly travel train students all day, 24/7. So now another quick video about a student named Jennifer. She was a P811Q student. Cognitively very intelligent student. She was very articulate. She was also an artist, and but she had some serious anxiety problems about traveling. So to help her relax, she would keep a journal and she would draw pictures. And it was so outstanding that the media specialist decided to animate it and had the student herself narrate her story about what it was like to be travel training and how important independent travel was to her. Come on, play. Oh boy. Let me just get this going. Not sure why this is not playing. 1 second. I apologize. I don't know why this video is not playing. but I can just tell you, I'm going to keep trying for one more second or two.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
Mr. Abraham, while you're doing that, can I just, this is Aisha Husbands. How are you?
Hi, Miss Husbands. How you doing?
Hi, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to let everyone know that my daughter did go through the travel training program, and they are very patient. I'm just advising everyone to start as early as possible because our children can develop habits that can be hard to break, good and bad. So the earlier, the better, to set them up for success and allow them to thrive. And you may think that it's scary and, oh, my child can't do this, but they definitely can. They definitely can. And the travel trainers are very patient, and they give a lot of support to our children. And I would encourage every parent to listen thoroughly to what Mr. Abrahams is going to tell you. He will be there if you need any support. I'm not going to say he's going to speak to you, but he spoke to me when I needed to speak to him. And just give your child the opportunity to, because when they leave D75, there's a whole world out there. And like now, Jasmine travels by herself. And it was a rough road. It was a rough road, and they gave her a lot of opportunity, and they gave her chances, and now she does it by herself. I do, I take her places, but there are places at times she goes to her grandmother who lives on the other side of Brooklyn by herself. So, and it was scary in the beginning, but now she does it by herself. She just calls me when she gets there, or when she's on the bus, or she's halfway there. So, it takes time, and we want our children to be as independent as they possibly can, even with whatever limitations they have. They have the ability to exceed our expectations. So let's just try to set them up in order for them to do that, to surprise us, and to make us even more proud of them than we are. Like Benny's mom cried, right? We've cried a lot, not good tears for our children. And this is the opportunity to have good tears for our children. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you. Again, I'm not going to take more of your time. I want all the parents to listen and just believe in the program. I believe in the program and believe in your child. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Husbands, for sharing that. Yeah. The thing with travel training is to refer earlier than late. The longer you wait, sometimes we called it just more years of learned helplessness. It's hard to break bad habits. And we're going to go over some of those habits that sometimes it may save you time to just take your child across the street. Let's go, the light is green. But what you're teaching your child is to depend on you. So Jasmine was working hard at it. As Ms. Husband said, there was some challenges. And again, we're always about safety first, so the student has to do, by the end of training, be 100% reliable in the things we're teaching them. I couldn't say Ms. Husband's, Jasmine crosses the street 7 out of 10 times good. No, from our standard, it has to be 10 out of 10 by the end. So Ms. Husbands never gave up. She kept working with her child. We let her know the things that she needed to work on. She continued. As you hear, it's a success story. She is now an independent traveler now. So kudos to Ms. Husbands and her family. And they worked hard. Again, she came to the Saturday program. And Ms. Husbands, I believe she worked nights, and she would have to come from work and go straight there. And Jasmine woke her up every day to come to the Saturday program. Imagine coming to school on a Saturday. The kids are waking the parents up. We got to go. I want to go to this independent travel class. And that's the kind of response we had, because that's how important it was. And I apologize, this video is not playing. But again, this same student, her name was Jennifer. I'll just give you a quick synopsis of the video.
Not to interrupt you, would you like, is it a link that I could possibly try to share for you?
I don't know. I think I'd have to go out and take it out and put it back in. It's just
okay.
stuck,
Okay.
So yeah, it's an embedded video. And
I digress. You have the floor.
Yeah.
And again,
Yes.
thank you, Ms. Husbands, because I, as a former council member, I know what you went through with my baby Jasmine. We love her so much. And the level of patience that the travel training office has and Mr. Abrams has. I want you parents to know like she said, I don't know if he gonna answer the phone. I can't vouch for that, but he will be there in his capacity that he can. And he really is there for our children. And I know that Miss Daniels, when she's available to speak, she can speak on that too. I just wanted to put a cherry on top because I appreciate you both. I will give the floor back to you.
Listen, if I'm available, somebody's will be available. If it may not be me all the time, I knew Miss Husbands personally, so I had to talk to her personally. But we always have the trainer who comes to the home you'll talk to every day. Is a teacher involved. The students, the teachers at the school are involved. It's a whole total team effort when it comes to travel training one student. It's not just one person saying this student can do it. So I'll explain that process going forward. But again, back to this quick video, and I'm going to go past it, and hopefully we can watch it another time. It was just a student kind of keeping a journal of her daily trips, drawing pictures, and basically she was just saying she felt like a bird being released from a cage. She had the golden ticket, which was the Metro card, and now she was no longer a cage bird looking out of the window of a school bus. She was in the world itself, participating. And that's just the gist of it all. And again, just to show you how important independent travel is, because I hear this all the time from parents. Parents are nervous, they're scared, with or without a disability, to let your child travel. So you can imagine with a disability how much more fearful the parents are. So, but sometimes they don't understand how important independent is to their children. So it's just to make sure that we're giving the student a fair chance for independent travel. If they earn it, they've worked hard to get it, and for you parents to start teaching it from an early age so that they're ready when their time comes up in the District 75 travel training program. We only work with secondary students 14 to 21, but when possible, try to refer early so that when they're older, they get more than one chance if they're not successful the first time. You want to refer from 16, 15, 16, 17. We do some 14-year-olds once in a while because they're ready to go and they got an opportunity maybe at a work site or something going on with them. So never to say never on that, but if you wait till graduating year, you may just get one chance at it. So you want more than one though. Sometimes some students aren't ready till 21, and that's different. But for the most part, refer early, let us assess, and we'll go from there. So let me move on. I'm just going to read. I have a bunch of letters. I want to read this one to you. This one came recently from a parent, and this is from a teacher, a parent from a student from P811Q Bayside, and this was to the travel training teacher. His name was Philippe Jean-Louis, and it says, "I'm writing to express my heartfelt gratitude for the travel training service my daughter Sophia Zhang received recently. I've noticed the positive impact the service had on my daughter's confidence and self-esteem. The trainer, Miss Gordon, is very patient and caring. She made the training process enjoyable and easy to remember. I'm grateful for her service. Last but not least, I appreciate the final observations provided by your team members. I had no doubt this program is designed with safety as a top priority. As a parent of a child with a developmental disability, I had fear of letting her go alone. As a result, my daughter has been in an overprotective environment. She needed to get out of my comfort zone. This program has helped her acquire a new skill while addressing all my concerns. The new skill acquired through this program has unlocked the potential and developed a can-do attitude for my daughter. I'm so grateful for the dedication and commitment of everyone involved. Thank you once again for providing this invaluable service for my daughter." So that's a picture of Sophia Zhang, and that was written by her father, Michael Zhang. You wouldn't believe that we travel train students who are college bound, but yet they can't travel independently. So they have the cognitive skills, but something else is barring them from traveling independently. And sometimes, I hate to say, it's the parents holding them back, instilling fear in them. And we just come with an objective eye and a belief. And our philosophy in travel training is we believe you can do it. We're going to teach you like we believe you can do it. And you're going to have to show us you can't do it. All right. Again, we're about safety. And by the end of training, the student has to show that they're going to be safe. Okay. It's not about at 100% reliability. It can't be, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 95. It's got to be 100. So some quick travel training facts. We daily correspond with parents. We daily document for liability and educational purposes. We train all disabilities except for the blind. That would be orientation and mobility. Students with a full-time one-to-one paraprofessional are not eligible. Why? That means you can't be alone in the school building by yourself. How could you be outside in the community by yourself, right? At those numbers, the full-time has to be reduced or removed for a student to enter travel training with a one-to-one. They shouldn't need one if they were talking about being independent outside. Travel trainers are the ones who come to the home are paraprofessionals qualified by specialized training, working under the supervision and guidance of a travel training teacher. Quickly, some frequently asked questions. Who is eligible for travel training? Students with disabilities other than blindness or visual impairments ages 14 to 21 who require instruction in travel skills and techniques in order to use public transportation safely and independently. Can anyone from the audience guess who doesn't know, not Ms. Husbands, or how long it takes to travel train one student? Can anyone take a guess what they would think? A person with a disability, cognitive, emotional, physical, and with no travel experience, how long do you think it takes for us to travel train on average one student? Can someone take a guess quickly?
Maybe 3 months.
3 months. Anybody else?
4 or 5 months.
1 year.
A year. Very common answers that we usually get from our presentations. But actually, we get it done in 2 to 3 weeks average training time. We have hundreds of students on our wait list, right? We're a small program. We're around 30 travel trainers, 10 teachers, about 40 of us all together, and we have hundreds of students. We have to do this in an optimal time frame to get to all those students to be a cost-effective program for all these students who want to travel independently. So we prepare them ahead of time, and I'm going to talk about that coming forward. And average time is 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes shorter, sometimes a little longer. What percentage of students are successful? I'll just jump in. We have about a 90% success rate. After our assessment, we deem the students eligible, but sometimes some students are very cognitively high and intelligent, but they don't follow directions. There are some students that most people, when we go to the school, we're going to talk about we're travel training this student, and people in the school say, this kid can't do it for whatever reason, but they follow directions and they're good travelers. So you never know until we put them in. Again, we kind of have a baseline of what we're looking for, but we're going to give you a chance if we're on the fence to see if we think you can do it. And with that being said, about 90% follow directions from beginning to end and are successful. If they're not successful, they need more training or they may go back on the school bus because the behaviors they're displaying could be dangerous. Why do you think, parents, that students are unsuccessful? What do you think is the hardest thing for students with disabilities, with no experience, to learn about traveling on public transportation that will stop them from being recommended for independent travel? Can I get a hypothetical guess from some parents?
They don't put they all into it and, might be afraid.
Very good answer. Very good answer. Anyone else?
Fear to let go.
Fear of letting go and maybe, doing it on their own. I could see that. Anything else? Anyone else with another guess?
They also
right.
so used to being on a school bus,
Yeah.
that's what they rely on, because my nephew, I'm up here for my nephew, he loves the school bus. I think he only go to school to get on that school bus. He's crazy about the school bus. Seriously, yeah.
Yeah, well, listen, riding the school bus is the first step to independence. Some parents don't even let their children ride the school bus. They're like, I'm taking them to school. I don't want them nowhere out of my sight. So the school bus is a step in a positive direction for independent travel. Listen, everybody's different. There could be a reason he likes the school bus. Maybe his friends, a girlfriend, or, it's just, you never know. It could be many reasons. But usually once they get a taste of independent travel on public transportation, most of our students like that. There are a few that do want the school bus because it's easier. Maybe the distance, there's less work for them on some level, but maybe they want to sleep, they're getting up, and that's what they can do on the school bus, what they can't do on public. So there's different reasons, but we always implore those students to give it a try on public and see what they like better, But if a student doesn't want it, we can't force them, And the parents, if you don't want it, we can't force you. We need both to participate and kind of be on board. we do want to ask one thing, that if you put your child in travel training, you have it in your mind, you're going to let them do it when they complete. They put in a lot of work. We put in a lot of work. We don't want to put students in program where parents are not going to let them do it after they complete. We have hundreds on our list, and they're kids who want it and need it. And that's the good thing about our program. The kids do want it. They do want to be independent, 99% of them. There's always a few that may be fearful, but most of them want to do it, and they behave appropriately because they know if they don't, they're going to lose that privilege. Traveling is a privilege. So most of our students learn the routes. Most of them have the desire to do it. But the reason why most are unsuccessful are due to unsafe street crossings. We have a high standard, and inappropriate social behaviors. So again, the street crossings, we stop at the corners. We cross with the lights. We look left, we look right, we look behind us. We wait for a fresh cycle. We even stop when the light says walk, and we'll wait for that whole cycle to go through to get a fresh, clean 100% of the time to cross the street. We don't allow them to wear headphones, listen to music, answer their cell phones. All those infractions would be considered a failing travel training. We don't cross in the middle of the block. We don't cross diagonally. We never run. So if you're doing these things with your children, you're teaching them bad habits, and you're teaching them, making them less likely to be successful. You got to teach them to cross at the corner, cross with the lights, cross when there's crosswalks, and that's it. Wait for fresh cycles, take their time, walk, don't wear headphones, don't talk on the cell phone, don't be listening to music. These are unsafe behaviors. And again, inappropriate social behaviors. Our children, when we assess them, they all say the same thing. I don't talk to strangers, but guess what? They never met a stranger. They're always with their parents. They're always with their teachers. So the first time they're out traveling now, they're going to run into strangers, and they may start talking to them, or strangers may talk to them and they'll respond, or they'll be staring at people, things that they shouldn't be doing. So we have to break those bad habits. And I know parents, you might be out with your children and show them that you're nice, talking to strangers and being polite and helping. But what you're doing is teaching your children to talk to strangers. You might want to teach them to be a little rude, maybe. If somebody comes and asks them something, say, no, I don't know, and walk away. Because what they're going to do is what they see you doing, talking to people they don't know, and they may not have the same skills to know when to draw or where to draw the line when somebody's asking them for their name, address, and phone number and things like that that they should be giving out. So think about that. Display and model the correct behavior. You shouldn't be talking to strangers in front of your children because you're teaching them to do that as well. All right. So we could talk about a little bit how we work on those things going forward in a minute. So the referral process are made by administrators, counselors, therapists, teachers, paraprofessionals, and parents. Students come knocking on the door. Will somebody have a question? Okay. First step is we give the teacher of the student a referral form and a pupil profile. That's just a sheet with rating the skills that the student currently has. And it has different elements of knowledge of the environment, language and communication, cognitive skills, mobility skills, and personal responsibility skills. Then we're going to send you, the parent, an interest letter to see if you want your child to be travel trained. If you say yes, then we will assess the student. And some of the things we're kind of doing over there is personal information, written and verbal, see if they know their school information. I would hate to say most of your children do not know the name and address of your schools. Do your children carry ID cards? I'm finding out that most don't. We do. That's the emphasis of the Saturday program, is to learn how to carry, use, and understand the ID card and who they should show it to. We talk about personal responsibility, public transportation, safety awareness, street crossing awareness, also money, fare paying, telephone skills, matching, sequencing, some map skills, and mobility skills. So getting around the building, knowing that the second floor houses the rooms 200 going up, or room 305 is on the third floor, making sure they know these things and can navigate the building by themselves. And then we'll make a recommendation to you, the parent, as far as what we see. Then we're going to start doing these pre-travel skills to get them ready before they come into program. Practice street crossing in the school neighborhood. Use the identification card. Talk about strangers, role-playing by them. Practicing, showing them some videos about stranger safety. Going over with community helpers, the people they can show these ID cards to. We practice reading bus and subway maps, telephone uses, problem solving. What do you do if the door is closed? Whatever you do if there's some construction in the hallway or a detour sign, things like that. All right. Also, prior to one-to-one travel training, we're going to contact you, the parent. We're going to introduce you to the travel trainer. Before we go anywhere with your child, and before you go anywhere with your child on public transportation, you should do an environmental analysis. Pick the safest, not the fastest route to the location you're going to. Picking the safest street crossings and the safest social environment. So we do that prior to working with your child so that we know the safest way to go, and that saves time on the training. So we don't pick a way and have to figure out which way is the best way. So we do that ahead of time so that we can give your child the safest route. We're going to make ID card and cue cards, and this is kind of what they look like. Do your children carry ID cards? They should. You carry ID cards as an adult. Why shouldn't our children carry ID cards? If they would get separated from you or their teacher, they should be able to show this ID card and get help from someone like a community helper. So on the top of first of all, our ID card is yellow, the international color of safety. And we're going to have the student's name here on the top, some directions like, please help me, I'm lost, call the police. And then we'll have the route. So they don't have to memorize the route. And many of our students do not know how to read. They have to be able to match though. So they would have the information here that they're looking for, like the B3 bus going to Bergen Beach, getting off of Nostrand Avenue and Avenue U. And this is the second bus. And then on the back, going down here is the trip home, highlighted in green, just to disparage the two. And it's the B47 to the B3, the location the bus is heading, and the end stops. Then on the back of the ID, we're going to have the school information. Again, like I said, most students don't know their school information, but can they pull it out on an ID card if they were lost and show it to somebody if they were trying to get to their school? We have this here. It's just the sample, P373, and we got the phone numbers there. And again, help me, I'm lost. Then we have an alternate route. I'm going to talk to you about that. That's something we try to teach all of our students, if it's feasible and safe, an alternate route to the location they're going. So this student on this sample ID is using the train. This is the direction and the final stops here. All right. And we use the real colors of the train station to make it easier for them. You see this black and white stripe here? Anybody know what that is? Why would I put that on an ID card? Does anybody know what that is? Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
I know it's the thing that the train conductors
Excellent.
point to when they like land on the station.
That's the conductor board. If you're riding the subway with your children, this is where you should be riding them, teaching them to ride. It's usually in the middle of the platform, and this is what hangs over the platform. It's a black and white striped sign, and that means the conductor will stop there. That's the safest car to ride in the subway. That's the only car we use. We wait, even if the train's in the station, we don't jump on the first car. We walk slowly to the conductor's car, the conductor's board, and we board that car. Why? The conductor's there if we have a question, and it's the safest place that we can get immediate help and don't have to leave the train station or the train car to find him. So we always ride this car. This is the car you should be teaching your children to use. It's the safest place where you can get help from immediately. So during the one-to-one travel training, we're going to practice safe street crossings, main route navigation to and from the school. And like, again, if it's feasible, if it's safe, we're going to show them an alternate route. We practice getting lost. It's going to happen. Everybody gets lost at some time. You may miss your stop. You may get on the wrong bus or train. We may miss the stop to school, the stop to home, the one to the transfer. Or we're going to practice all of those lost work, so your student has had experience using that ID card, showing you the bus driver or the train conductor, and seeing if they can able to follow directions. We do that a few times during training. We practice stranger safety, making sure they don't talk to strangers, and we have a stranger test that we could do with other teachers they don't know if we feel the student is too friendly. Appropriate social skills like not cutting the line, staying in line, taking the book bag off their back, not taking multiple seats, not staring at people, things like that, making sure they're appropriate. And again, starts with talking to that bus driver, feeling comfortable when they're not lost, so that they're ready to talk to the bus driver when they are lost, confirming their stops. Practice use of the phone, cell phones, iLink, Link NYC, and everything like that. And anything problem solving, any construction, closures, we're going to implement embedding training and let the students figure it out. How you know somebody's being travel trained is the travel trainer is like 1 foot behind the student. We're never side by side. We're never in front of them. We always have the student in front of us. They have to show us what they will do as if we're not there. All right. We're not holding their hands. We're not do this. You know, we might model some things for them, but for the most part, they're going to be in front of us, showing us what they know. And at the end, like my buddy Benny said, there is a test. So at the end of training, how we know students are ready, even though we've seen them do safe trips, we have them tested by other travel trainers that they don't know from other boroughs, other schools. We'll meet up with them in the morning at your house. We'll tell the student you're going to school by yourself today, and they think they are, but really they're being observed at arm's distance by another travel trainer who they don't know. We're not hiding down the block. We're not 2 blocks away. We're not in our cars. We're right behind them, feet away. And if they were to do something unsafe, we're ready to intervene with a grab of the shoulder or pulling them back. And, we go from there depending on what the infraction was. But we do that 2 or 3 times during training so we can tell you that when the student is by themselves, they're following all the safety rules. Who benefits from travel training? The individual. They have access to medical health care, economic self-sufficiency, equal opportunity, housing, employment, freedom, independence, social recreation, spontaneous travel when necessary. The family, decreased dependence on others for rides, decreased transportation costs, increased income that could be spent on other things, and a better quality of life. So, how do we know? What are we teaching the students and things that you could do at home to get your children ready for independent travel? We call these the 9 essential skills. This is like our curriculum. All right. The skills that we use every day in life to get to where we're going, the skills needed to be safe and independent, the skills needed to be an independent traveler. And they are awareness of the environment. All right. So that is the ability to recognize and correctly use information within the environment, identifying streets, transportation, signage, landmarks, scanning traffic, pedestrians, recognizing, responding to announcements on public transportation. Negotiating dynamic static environments. It's the ability to move effectively through the environment. Dynamic means objects that are moving, and static means no movement. Construction signs, garbage cans, cars on the sidewalk, shelters, things of that nature. Oops, sorry. Next is problem solving. The process to find a solution to a situation that may prevent getting to or from a destination. Example, missing your stop when traveling, unexpected subway line going express, a bus rerouted due to construction. Number 4, appropriate social behavior, the ability to act accordingly to social norms in the presence of others when traveling. Example, maintaining personal space, using appropriate language, not speaking to strangers, proper etiquette while waiting on lines, holding bus train poles, etc. Recognizing and avoiding dangers and obstacles. That's the ability to be aware and respond to safely to unexpected changes, objects, or situations that could cause harm in the environment. Example, sidewalk, cellar door, construction site, blocked with caution tape, road closure, sirens, horns, inclement weather, snow mounds, puddles, etc. Initiating, the ability to start or begin independently without a prompt, seeking help when needed, knowing when to board, exit the mode of travel, knowing when it's safe to cross, knowing when to ring the bell at the correct stop. Recognizing the need for and requesting assistance. That's the ability to know when, who, and how to request help when needed. Examples are like locating an MTA employee, community worker in uniform for directions, locating a safe haven with a store employee behind a counter, using a cell phone to follow transportation updates. Next, number 8 is decision making. The ability to choose between 2 or more options, choosing between a primary or alternate route, the stairs on the escalator, elevator, or different entrance in the subway, what to wear based on the weather forecast, the difference between a community worker and a stranger. And then finally, attention to task. The ability to be alert from start to finish without distractions interfering while traveling, recognizing the correct mode of transportation, stopping at all corners before crossing, waiting for pedestrian signs, responding to horn sirens, staying awake on the mode of travel. That's what the observation, the test for, to see if you're attentive and can do everything that you've learned independently. So these are the things. Can you think about these things? Do you think you could teach them to your children at home? That's where you should start. What does your child have all of these essential skills, or there's maybe 2 or 3 that they need work on? So what can you do to get them ready? Now that we define the major areas, all right, do they need help initiating? Maybe it's because you're doing everything for them. Give them time to make a decision. You know, do they have problem solving skills? When something comes up, do they just quit, or they expect you to do it? Or maybe you just are doing it for them and not giving them a chance. All right. So you got to think about your child and which one of these skills do they have or do they need. I'm going to share that document with the group, and you can keep it for your reference. All right. So these are just some things you could do at home. Just some ideas we jotted down. There's many, many more. You got to know your child. It's all independent based on them. So again, for awareness in the environment, identify the parts and functions of the house. Draw a picture. Have your child draw a picture and map of the rooms. Can they match the number of the school bus? Can they identify the school bus when it comes? Can they point out landmarks near your home? Are you showing them, look, where do we live? Give me some landmarks. You know, these are questions we ask on our assessment. Can they point out landmarks along the route to friends' houses or frequented stores that you go to? Can they match and identify the big major streets in your neighborhood or your cross streets near your home? Can they recognize the different functions, different of a car, a school, this bus, the city bus, the subway, the taxi? Do they know the difference between all of those? The negotiating dynamic static environments, can they match and find things in the store? Give them a grocery list. Let's see you find this in the supermarket. Do they stop at corners independently? You have to teach them to always stop. Even if the light says walk, stop and look first. You always should look before you cross. Identify don't walk and walk icons in the street crossings, and recognize and use the crosswalk as a place to cross streets. Looking both ways and around corner for traffic. Recognizing and avoiding dangers and obstacles. Can they listen, identify traffic sounds, ambulance, fire engine, car horn, truck, bus starting up, backup beeps? Are they alert to all those sounds? Can they identify them to you? Can they recognize and avoid puddles, potholes, and construction, snow mounds? Recognizing the need for and requesting assistance. Can they ring the bell on the bus when it's time to exit? All right. Can they recognize the location and function of the cashier in a store? These are just little things to help them recognize requesting assistance. And when there's a trouble or something that they don't know, ask them who should they get help from and let them do it. Appropriate social behavior. Can they wait for the school bus alone while being observed from a safe distance where appropriate? Do you always have to stand with them and walk them to the bus, or can they do that by themselves? Can they exit the bus and walk to the front door independently, or do you wait at the bus stop and walk them and pick them up? Recognizing personal space of others. You know, can you show them that you're just standing too close to someone? Do they recognize those things? And recognizing appropriate behavior for certain situations. Don't always just say, let's do this. Say, what's going on right now? What should we do? That's what we do in travel training. That's a learning opportunity when something unusual is going on in the environment, and see if they recognize it and what should they do for that scenario. And identifying self appropriately, letting them know who they are, and if they can't remember their address, can they pull it out on an ID card, and requesting assistance when needing, and identifying community workers in the community. And the difference between friends and strangers. That's something you have to teach at home in role play. There's a lot of educational videos on those type of scenarios and lessons and ways to approach it. Initiating, walking to the front of the front door independently to wait for the school bus. Getting dressed. We hate when we come to homes and the parents are there buttoning the kids' coats and doing all this stuff. We're going to tell you right then, stop, let him or her do it, and let's go from there. All right. We want the parents standing back and the student doing everything that they need to do for themselves. Using the intercom bell to enter the house or apartment. Maybe using keys, their own keys, to get into the house. Carry money and pay for items on the grocery list. Walk to the corner alone or the corner store. Decision making, getting their own coat and bag before leaving the house. Exiting the school bus at apartment with a key. Again, carrying grocery bags home. Doing chores in the house. Empty the garbage bag independently. Deliver messages to a neighbor. Making a purchase in the neighborhood store. Crossing the street if safe. And when on the bus in public, let them dip their own Metro card and swipe on the train. And finally, attention to task. Carrying ID card when leaving the home, making sure they're doing it independently. Check the store, they have everything needed. ID card, money, scarf, leaving the house. Identify, recognize the home address. Make selections in the store again, and anything like that. You just give them the more responsibilities and chores they can do independently, the more they'll be ready for independent travel. So community awareness, when you go out with your children, if you drive a lot or you have a car, take a public transportation trip, plan it on the computer or Google, or where you want to go and the way you're going to get there using a map, and what they should carry on the trip for the weather, the season you're going, and what you're going to need for the trip where you're going to. Make sure they're dressing for the weather appropriately and let them decide what it is. Go over the information on the ID card. You can make them for yourself. You can get the state ID and make a copy of it and give them to them. So if you're worried about them losing it, or you can make one at home with their name and address, put their picture on it. We make one for our Saturday program students, and we keep a copy in case they lose it. And practice about who they can show it to, a community helper, and show your children the safe havens in your neighborhood. If something goes wrong, if there's an emergency, here's where you can go: the police station, library, school, or which neighbors you find are appropriate for them to go to. And again, pointing out all the pedestrian street signs to them or having them point it out. When it comes to choosing landmarks, let them choose a landmark. We never choose a landmark and say, when you see McDonald's, get off. We say, what do you see here? And if they say, I see this, I see that, as long as it's something that's going to be stable in the community, we let them pick those landmarks out. Again, as I said, take a trip on public transportation. So hopefully you've learned today, never assume your child can or cannot do it. Introduce travel-related skills at an early age. Teach mistake making. Let them make mistakes and correct them on their own. And emphasize safety. Never give up. Independent travel mobility is worth the effort. All right. So if you have any questions from the audience, I'm going to put my contact information up here. That's our main office number at the top, and that's my email. Those are the best ways to contact me. Any questions from the audience? From our parents?
Thank you so much, Mr. Abrams. I'm going to skim through the chat in case if you've answered some of these questions, please let me know and we'll skip forward. But I do see someone asked, when will you hold the weekend travel training? When will it be held next year?
Don't have the dates yet. We're doing our final session for Brooklyn in the spring this weekend, and we plan to do some in the fall and spring next year. So just keep an eye out for the District 75 Journey to Independence program. And it's well promoted throughout the district. And I don't have the dates yet, but keep in touch with me, and I'll give you them once I get them. So we'll probably have those finalized by the early fall next year.
Thank you. I'll read this question, but I believe you did answer it. If you need to close the loop, fine.
Sure.
Question: what should parents do to get their child ready for travel training? I do believe you covered that.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to give you out the 9 essential skills and make sure your children have those essential skills. Figure out which ones they need to work on. Again, you can call me for advice, but you got to just practice and let your children do. Let them do all the things I just talked about as far as emphasizing safety and giving them an opportunity to do stuff. Stop doing things for them. As best, take patience, stand back, and let them do for you. Let them figure out things. Let them make mistakes. We're the type of people that if we're working with a student in crutches and they fall, we're not going to run and pick them up. We're going to let them pick themselves up. Now, if they ask us for help, of course we'll help them. But again, it's that type of philosophy you have in your mind. If you weren't there, what would they do? Think about that when you're with your children. If you were not there with them, what would they do in that scenario? So you have to practice and see what they would do so you know what you need to work on. But if you just jump in and give them all the help they need, when you're not there, they're not going to know what to do for those scenarios.
that literally is the journal prompt I will be using tonight. What will he do when I am not there? Because that is something I need to kind of flesh out to understand and be prepared for. It makes your stomach turn a little bit because you're not ready. And
even if it's something like, I can get the key in the door, you might just say, let me do it. But that's, again, you're teaching them to be helpless. Take the time, just breathe, relax, and you'll get it when you get it. And just know it's may take longer, but eventually he or she will be able to do it on their own. You just got to step back. And that's the hardest part for people that come to our job, is breaking them of the habits of just over prompting. Again, we'll wait 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes for a student to make the decision to cross the street. Because what are they going to do when we're not there? So the only way you can't, it's like learning how to use a computer or drive. You can't do that by not having someone tell you what to do. You have to get behind the wheel and practice. You have to get on that computer and practice getting on the internet or using Microsoft Word. You have to do it yourself. And you got to take your time and you will get better. It's the same thing with independent travel for students or just learning to be independent overall.
Yes, yes, yes. That is something that we do need to practice with patience. And I'm very grateful you guys have that cornered because we will need a little bit of that poured into us. Some of us parents, I'll say for me, I need a little bit poured into because I do have a fear with my son as we move into this travel training. I'm one of those parents, I'm like, oh my Lord, my son cannot ride a bus or a train, but that's my thoughts and that's not true. That's projection. So I'm grateful for people like you in the office that remind us that we need to back up and let our children be individuals. So with that, I'll jump into the next question. Will you hold something in the Bronx travel training in the weekend?
Oh, the Bronx, we get the best turnout. P811X, we've done it the last couple of years, and we had this in March. We had some classes there, and it was like over 30 students with parents. You're talking about 70 people in the cafeteria, all getting independent pre-travel skills. So P811X is always a location we get the best turnout in. So we'll definitely continue that site for sure.
Okay, awesome. I also have another question in the chat. How do you test with someone that is bothering them on the train and bus?
So that comes up sometimes too. Sometimes we see things in training that makes us know a student is maybe not appropriate with strangers. Maybe they're looking at the opposite sex. Maybe somebody has bumped into them and they react negatively, and we have to practice it, role play it in the classroom, and then what we do ultimately is give them a test, like how we do with the observations, where we have somebody they don't know come and follow them. We'll do what we call an approach from a travel training the student doesn't know, where we say, hey, just for an example, we'll be, sometimes we always like to do it in a safe environment. So we may go outside with the student and say, hey, I left my wallet upstairs. Stay right here. But what they don't know is we have somebody hiding, a teacher outside hiding, maybe in their car or behind a tree. And then we'll have a stranger that they don't know and come up and then kind of act out the scenario we're trying to elicit from them, whether it's they're too aggressive or maybe they're too friendly and we'll go off with a stranger. So now they're kind of first time they may meet a stranger and they have to either decide, is this person talking to me friendly? Should I give them some information? Because we're going to come up and say, hey, how you doing? For example, I just missed the bus. You know how long it's going to take? What's your name? What's your what's your address? And see what they give us. And if they're talking to us, we might say, hey, I have a car. You want to take a ride? I'll take you where you're going. And if the student starts to leave, then we'll jump out. What are you doing? This is a stranger. Kind of reprimand them. They get all scared, flustered. And, again, the consequence could go back on the school bus, more training, depends on what the scenario is and the students' knowledge. And, so everything is individually based. But so we can do that for all different types of scenarios that we have that students encounter, whether it's being too friendly, too aggressive with people, or maybe just being too helpful, like, Good Samaritan, doing too much for strangers, they don't know where to draw the line. So depending on what that student needs, that's kind of like the test to see if we really think they're ready for independent travel. So that's our main thing. Now, I've told parents, maybe you set that up with somebody in your neighborhood that they don't know that to kind of see if your child is too friendly or if they're going to do something you're worried about. But it has to be in a safe place that you can see them so that you can de-escalate the situation in case they get stressed out. Right? You don't want them to react negatively and run away and then you can't find them But we have that all situated when we do ours. We have multiple people in place in case something goes wrong, So, but it's an effective way to see what your child will do when they think they're by themselves. And it's sometimes surprising, obviously.
Quick question. One parent asked, my child is 13 years old, one more year. Can I still be on the waiting list?
We like to get the students while they're in the secondary because we do junior high students. Then they may need retraining when they get to the high school setting. So we kind of just wait till the high school setting. If you think they're ready at 14, you can refer and we'll let you know when we can get to them. So if they're ready at 14, we won't deny it. Just depends on the waiting list of that school. If we got some grads who we got to get to first before they leave the system. We were redeployed for 2 years during the COVID, so we're kind of backlogged, but we're catching up now. So we're not doing just grads, but for 2 years down, you can imagine the list of grads we had to do when we got back. So we're getting to younger students. So everything is location specific where the student lives and listed that school.
I have a statement here from Ms. Thomas. Pertaining to the one-to-one pairs, my son has one for medical reasons. Will this disqualify him to try independent traveling?
Well, I mean, does the medical para go on the school bus with them, or is he alone on the school bus? You know, I mean, the medical para, once they're traveling, are they going to travel with them to and from school to home? Probably unlikely. So it's got to be reduced. If they need medical power for certain things in the school, but again, it's got to be reduced. It can't be 100% because there has to be something on the IEPs that there is some point the student could be alone by themselves. If it's that critical of a medical issue, then we're going to need doctor clearance anyway to say that the student can be independent on public transportation. If the doctor says yes, then they should be given that opportunity and let that one-to-one power be reduced. You know, so again, I'd have to hear the specifics of this situation. But overall, if a student needs a one-to-one 100%, why would they need one in school but not need one out in the community? So, and one-to-one paras don't travel on public transportation with students. So we got to kind of navigate that scenario and what they really need. And again, is it safe for them to travel? If they need a one-to-one full-time, then maybe it's not safe for them to travel independently because of the medical condition is that serious. So we'd have to talk about specifics with that student to kind of really come to a solution.
Thank you so much. There's a lot of appreciation here. I do want to give the last question in the chat, and then I'm going to open it up to people who want to unmute and ask Mr. Abrams questions on your own. We do want to make sure you have a voice. I'm just reading the things that are in the chat. This says, do you provide, FYI, this recording is going to be on our council's YouTube page. I'll put the link into the chat. If you came on late, if you would like to share it, we will have this information posted. Additionally, the information for the CCD75 Safety Council, where a lot more of this information is posted, steps in how to get in touch with Mr. Abrams if you haven't screenshot, etc., is the CCD75 safety link that is available. Moving on to the next question. There's 2 questions, and then I'll allow you to raise your hands and unmute. Let's move through here. Do you provide this for older students who use Accessoride?
Again, we're 14 to 21 students in the school system. Accessoride is, again, a step towards independence. We don't use Accessoride unless there's extreme situations where the student lives. It's just not physically possible for them to travel through certain areas. Let's say if they're in a wheelchair and it's a hilly area and it's just maybe underdeveloped, that might be a reason. But for the most part, we don't use public Accessoride. It's a form of travel, indeed, but it's not something you can just get up and I need to go somewhere now. It's something that has to be scheduled and planned and like set up like a taxi. So it's kind of in that realm. Never say never. We have done it for certain special circumstances. But again, we're 14 to 21. There are some agencies after 21 that do provide travel training, but most of them are not as thorough as what we're doing. And again, what the great part of doing it during the DOE is that we can monitor the student for years, how they're doing. There are students that do well in the beginning, and then we find out they're falling off. They're not following the rules. Someone saw them doing this and that, and then they could lose that privilege or need some retraining in some area that maybe they've kind of gone wayward in. So again, our program most programs don't do observations, don't have the amount of manpower we have, and again, have the whole school system backing it up. And so, once you graduate, you're at an agency, there's usually one person going to show you for a couple of days. It's a far cry from what we do.
One last question before we open to the floor. How can our parents get on the waiting list? If you've answered that, please forgive me, but I do want to make sure we reiterate since it's asked.
Yeah, well, just go to your local D75 school and mention it to your transition coordinator, your assistant principal. All of us know how to get in touch with the travel training program. We have a website, we have emails, we have, again, you have my personal email as well. So it's just to get in touch with somebody at your school and say, I want my child travel trained. please help me initiate the referral. And that's all you need to do. Again, if it's a school where we're located, the kids can come knock on our door. Go to the travel trainer teacher and tell them you want to get on the list, and we'll take it from there. So it's that simple.
Thank you so much. Do we have any parents that would like to ask any further questions? You may now raise your hand and unmute. I am seeing no additional questions, but I am seeing people saying thank you so much for this presentation. It has been very informative. We will make sure to share the deck with you. We'll also make sure to add that onto our safety page so that you have access to that. And to Mr. Abrams, former council member Husbands, is making sure that you have the link to the website and the link to the YouTube presentation that is live recording right now. Let's see, we do have one question. Miss Fatima, you do have the floor. Please unmute.
Okay, I was going to mention the thing about accessoride. Okay, so my daughter has a intellectual disability. She doesn't have a power or any of those things. And for her, accessoride is the safest way. But right now, she always travels with a person. One day, I would hope that she'd be able to travel on her own. Just as I use a lot of your ideas, suggestions previously, as far as getting her more comfortable with using her phone and being able to navigate that piece of technology that I never really thought about training her to use a phone, because who does that? But I had to, and she's getting better at that. But I also don't even have a clue on how to start her with being able to navigate. Okay, I'm on accessoride. What do I not do? What do I do to be able to get from point A to point B? Because otherwise, when we're not there, she's pretty much, and she's still in school. She's 18 now, and everybody's expecting her to be able to get all around the city on her own, but she cannot do that right now. So how about that?
We got to teach her. We got to teach her. You got to get her referred. We got to teach her. We got to see where she's at, what she needs. Accessoride is good, but it's not the greatest, right? You got to wait. You got to make a schedule. What if you need to get somewhere in an hour? It's not going to happen with accessoride more than likely. It's very expensive for the city. We want students to be independent, have that MetroCard, and be able to go when they need to go somewhere. So public transportation is a better option when everything's being equal. And again, are you going to take accessoride to work every day? Are you going to take it home? Again, if you're, if it's necessary due to your health and your mental cognition abilities, then I understand. But if you can take public and go places at the spur of the moment and be more cost effective for the city and be able to go again for a job, and where you got to go every day, why not learn to use public transportation? It's there for you. So again, we can teach to it. You got to refer, and you got to start working on it. Instead of taking accessoride, let's take a bus one couple of stops and take it back. Start slow. A lot of parents say all the time, especially when it comes to street crossings, I want to teach my child to cross the street, but when we go out there, they're not paying attention to the traffic. Then guess what? Don't do it outside. Work on it inside the house, practicing with a light, with a sign, red, green, yellow, or a walk sign and a don't walk, stopping, looking for cars. We do that in our Saturday program where we make up a little intersection in the classroom, and we have our little lights that say walk and don't walk. And the kids, it's not easy to do this for the first time, looking for cars and then looking at the light, staying in the crosswalk, and then we'll have a little chair moving like a car, beep, beep, and you got to react to it. Because even though you have the light, some cars will still come in a direction that they have the right of way as well. Those turning cars from behind you. So practice inside. And again, start little with the trips. Just go a couple of stops and let's go here and take a trip back, and then expand it gradually. Maybe then you go to a major intersection and come back. So you got to do it. You got to do it on the weekend. Do it after school hours. Start practicing with your child so that they're ready for when they come to our program. Or sometimes you might go half a way on public, somewhere that they want to go to the zoo or the park or movie theater. We're going to take the bus there, but we'll drive back home, or something vice versa, and let them figure out the route on the map, and they'll be excited to learn and do it. And you'll be surprised what your children can do if you give them a chance. Swiping the card, sitting in the front of the bus, ringing the bell when they see the stop, give them the landmark. When you see this is when we should ring the bell, and then we're going to walk this way to the location. But again, you start slow. It might be just a couple of stops and come back in your own neighborhood, little by little, and then expand it. You got to practice it. And that's the only way, And it may take 2-3 years before they get it, but it'll be worth it in the end, you know, or it could take less time. Usually parents don't know. Again, I've told you, we've travel trained students with going to college and the parents are telling me they can't do it. And it's like, it just doesn't make sense. You're not approaching it. You're too hard on them. You're not teaching them. You want them to do everything at your speed, and you're doing it for them, so they're not getting a chance to learn. So that's why we're good. We don't have that stake in the game. We're going to give you the best chance, take our time, and from the beginning, you're going to show us. And gradually, like we do in our program, every day they get quicker at making the decisions because they're given that chance. So it's just practice. I believe our students can do everything if we just give them time.
Amen. Amen. Listen, I'm like I'm in church. I believe with you too. I believe my son says, praise the Lord, everyone. We definitely have to have that encouragement. And it's so good to have that poured on us that, you know, we have people who believe in stand in the gap even when we can't. And that's something that we need as communities. So I'm very grateful for Mr. Abrams and your fountain of information. We will be asking you back to continue this conversation.
Anytime.
If there are any further questions, please do let us know at this moment. If not, while we are waiting to see if there are any questions, I do want to extend a great thank you to former council member Husbands. Thank you for your participation in this meeting. Also, additionally, Co-President Daniels and chair of this committee. You may not know, but we do have our D75 New Teacher Symposium tonight, and Co-President Daniels is there supporting our council on that end. I'm here supporting her here, so she wasn't able to unmute, but she is with us in spirit, and she's here and she helped set all of this up. And so I'm very grateful to her and to Ms. Husbands and to Ms. Abrams. I do not see any further hands up. So we will take all of this information and make sure that we provide it for you guys. And that it's easily locatable on YouTube and on our websites. Again, thank you, everyone. If there are any further questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to the council at d75council@schools.nyc.gov, and we'll make sure to assist you in contacting Mr. Abrams or any other thing that you may need help with. Thank you for your time.
Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. You guys have an amazing night, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.